Hello, everybody, and welcome to a late night happy hour. It's Jake Micah here with Ty B. We're here to talk a little bit of Clippers Mavs and then get into some AEW Double or Nothing fallout from the show on Sunday and then the first show coming back after tonight, Friday Night Dynamite. But Ty, I want you to give me the breakdown of you getting home from Seneca One with and not a great Jays game tonight, and coming home and just seeing Kawhi Leonard absolutely eviscerating
Oh, it was
the
it was like
Dallas
perfect
Mavericks.
timing. Yeah, it was perfect timing for me. So, the Jays get absolutely mollybombed, but my La Tech Bulldogs out there over in college baseball, College World Series, absolutely crushed Ryder. I knew they were frauds, so thank God for that. But I get home just in time for AEW Dynamite, and what else? The fourth quarter of that Clippers game, and Kawhi absolutely just dominates. They put up 31-20 in that quarter. I believe Kawhi just basically has an absolute career night here where he puts up 45 points, just extremely efficient from the floor. And this is exactly what we wanted from him. This is exactly what I said when we need to have a response game. We need to have a bounce back game. And we finally got that from Kawhi. And can he carry that over into this last game? I think he can. I mean, we've seen it from him before. We saw him carry Toronto to the finals. So I'm as confident as ever in this Clippers team. It's if you told me, it's one game to advance, fuck it, sign me up.
That's fair. Like, yeah, that's how I always like going retroactively, looking back at a series. And like you told me you would give me a game seven with Kawhi Leonard on your side. Like you would take that almost all the time. The one thing they figured out tonight is, hey, maybe Kawhi should. There we go. That's facts, and we'll get into that because that is going to be a very interesting part coming up with AEW. But the thing that they figured out was the most obvious thing was that, hey, maybe Kawhi should just cover Luka like the whole entire game, and he did that, and it was
Yeah,
like Luka still got his, but at the end of that game, you could tell that they looked tight. He wasn't getting his,
the
bringing the
claw.
claw out. The Mavs went cold. None of these teams can win at home in this series. There's not a better two words than Game Seven either, right? Like,
No. No, it
um,
doesn't matter whether it's the NBA, NHL. Give me game seven all day long. And for the Clippers here, it was like, are the Mavs your kryptonite? Well, you got over them here. You shut them down in that fourth quarter. If momentum is a thing in sports, which it's not, there's a million factors that go into it that actually make up momentum. I'm not going to get into that, but if it's a thing, it should help. Carry over. If Kawhi can continue to play the way he did in Game 6, they should be able to win. Just lock up, Luka the entire time. Like, it's one game where you have to give max effort. Kawhi can do that. I think he can shut down Luka for an entire game and still put up some points on the offensive end. We saw him do it, like I said, with Toronto. When he was, the main fiddle. Obviously, you had Kyle Lowry to set him up a little bit, but it was him really creating the opportunities and a lot of drives to the lane. He's not a very efficient shooter from a deep range, so it's a lot of in close stuff that Kawhi is able to do. So I really like their opportunity going forward in this one, but it's going to be fun. I think that's going to be an interesting line coming out of Vegas. I think, it's probably Clippers being favorited at home,
mhm.
-2.5, -3.5 in that one. And I know where Stevie's betting on it, and I don't even want to get into it.
Steve, yeah, the shit talking is gonna start in about I
Yeah,
don't
we're
know, like
both on
12
Gonzaga
hours.
right now. So, yeah, he won't say nothing until after that.
Yeah, keep the good vibes alive until then. Yeah, and that's pretty much where it's been all series too. It's just been the lines pretty much stuck there. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a great game seven. Honestly, I'm leaning towards the Clippers at this point just because it looked like they figured out something. Like your confidence is, I feel that because they look like they figured something out against this Mavs team, and the way that Mavs team went cold, like that, if Kawhi's just go shooting like that for an
Yeah.
entire game, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get by that if they shoot like that in a game seven. So we'll see if they get tight. We'll see what kind of moments they've got. It's going to be really cool to see Luka in a game seven though, because that kid back against the wall, like we've seen the things that he's able to do going forward. So yeah,
Yeah,
Sunday
there's
game seven. Yeah.
I was going to say there's one other thing I want to touch about before we move on from this game is that what Rondo was saying to Matt Barnes on that podcast, or that Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, I believe, do that podcast.
Mhm.
And he was saying, like, they were asking him about, shooting the 3-pointers and like how he's a threat now, and some of these other veterans who weren't known for the 3-point shot, but they've developed it in their game, and how they've had to add to it as they've gotten older. But Rondo's like, that comes with just having a not give a fuck meter. Like, you have to just not care what other people think about your game. And you have to, at some point, just compartmentalize, like, don't worry about what the pundits are saying about me. Don't worry about what people are saying on Twitter. Continue to work on your game. Like, you have to shoot in those big moments to be able to build in those big moments, so that, like, come playoff time, like, you had those moments in the regular season, you can do it come crunch time in the playoffs. And I think that's a big thing. So we've seen, Rondo add it to his arsenal, and we've seen some of these young players step to that spotlight in that same light that Rondo's really describing here, whether it's, Devin Booker or some of these other young names. But one that they pointed out that's failed to a little bit, Ben Simmons. Can he carry this team with Joel Embiid sore knee? We'll see on that one. That's going to be an interesting storyline going into round 2.
Yeah, and it's really the changing of the guard. So we're gonna find out a lot about these guys in these pressure moments. Like pretty much all the young talent that anybody's hyped up over the last couple of years is gonna have a playoff moment coming up. Whether it's a Ben Simmons and a Trae Young in that series. I guess the Nets and Bucks are kind of the most established teams, but even those two teams, it's more the players on their teams and not really the team themselves that are established. And obviously out west, the way it's shaping up. Whether it's the Clippers and the Mavs, still it's a changing of the guard there with those top 3 seeds. We're going to see Jokic in a second round series going balls out, just guns blazing against that Suns team. So yeah, it's going to be a great second round. I can't wait to see it. As we're about to move on to AEW here, though, Vegas Golden Knights tying it up 2-2. Wow, so our overtime hopes are alive here for a late night. 5 minutes left in the third period, but let's get into AEW. Let's get into it. Double or Nothing was Sunday, so we'll touch on that a little bit. And we wanted to touch here to come back and see what AEW is looking forward to now coming out of Double or Nothing and going into this huge summer for them. I mean, really, as a company, like
fans back in July,
fans back in July,
full fans back, like in arenas, not just Daly's Place.
Coming off their most successful run of shows, like at all as a company, the last couple weeks and months that they've had, really try to capitalize on this momentum coming forward. And it's so great to see the Daly's Place crowd there now. Like, just changes the game for what a wrestling show looks like. I can't wait to see a WWE show with actual fans in there, just to see like how people react to people and everything. And so let's start up before we get to the big title match we'll have in a couple weeks, talking about a crowd getting behind the guy. There was a big surprise that they wanted to put in front of a big crowd tonight on Friday Night Dynamite, as Mark Henry came out, and we should have figured something big was going to happen when they were announcing Mark Henry come into there. And Mark Henry comes out, interrupted by Vicky Guerrero, perfectly annoying. Excuse me. Just perfectly. It just brought me back to 2007, 2008. It brought me back there.
Speaking of which, like Slick and I, like, we're watching back Great American Bash from 2005 when it was in Buffalo, and it just happened to like continue to play after we fell asleep, and we woke up and she was on the TV screaming, and I was like, oh my God, Slick. Like, I was about to lose my mind. I'm like, we need to go get a coffee right now. Like, I can't do this right now.
Were you there?
In 2005, yeah.
Yeah. The ladder match, and that's so funny. Like tonight,
that's which is even more incredible. It's the Eddie Guerrero RIP match versus Rey Mysterio for the custody of Dominic.
And then tonight I watched SmackDown and AEW, and Dominic and Rey are tagging together, and Vicky's on TV. So that's incredible. Also, Vegas 3-2 now. It's all. Wow. I jinxed our hopes for overtime immediately, so my apologies. But we're burying the lead a little bit here. I am a mush. We're burying the lead a little bit here. Vicky Guerrero.
Imagine if we had live odds. Keep going though.
We have Andrade, Idolo. I can't say
Idolo.
that. Idolo, something like that. JR had a lot of trouble saying Andrade's name. That was tough. He called him Andre to start. It was entertaining, but I was like,
And then he really
JR.
couldn't say the Idolo part, which
Yeah,
is like
help me out
El
here.
Idolo. Like it's just Idolo basically, and then you just put a little accent Idolo because it's the idol. Get it?
Andrade, the
Very
idol.
easy. Yeah, so it makes sense. Nice play, and like I'm gonna be waiting like on pins and needles for Andrade to drop the Miro line where he's like, "Yeah, and my wife's hot." When are we gonna get that line from him? We got to get it at some point.
I hope next week. I hope next week. I think we need to lay that on thick because I'm hoping my dream scenario always with Andrade possibly coming over to AEW was that maybe Charlotte would just be a little bit still very unhappy with WWE and talk about the biggest, we've talked about Daniel Bryan, all these other CM Punk, all these potential signings, Bryan Danielson, American Dragon, whatever you want to call him in this day and age. But if Charlotte Flair showed up on AEW and put that women's division on that kind of map, there's nothing bigger that I think could happen. Like outside, like maybe there are a couple.
Could you imagine Charlotte Flair versus DMD?
That's a main event of a pay-per-view right there. Like automatically.
Incredible.
And the thing, like, I don't want to speculate too much because obviously Charlotte is the star in WWE, whatever. But Ric Flair, it's not like Ric Flair was a lifetime WWE person. It's not like Rick was, loyal to Vince his whole life. In fact, obviously, most of his run was not in WWE.
No. And like, didn't Ric Flair get Lacey Evans pregnant?
Yeah.
What's going on with that storyline? What happened with that? Just one of the other things
Lacey had a
under
kid.
the rug, just like with Aleister Black and Big E, but like,
it
is what it is.
You didn't watch SmackDown tonight either, but Liv Morgan came out for a match against Carmella, and they're like, Liv Morgan new to singles action, looking to make her name. It's like, oh, why is she new to singles action? Like, care to give us any context where
just
her
nothing
tag team partner disappeared to? Nah, new to singles action.
I feel bad for like the announcer sometimes in those situations because like obviously like Vince is like you can't say anything about it and like there's like specific rules, like they're very very strict on their wording and like everything they do, and having Vince in your ear the entire time, like I couldn't even imagine.
It's got to be chaos all the time. That's why I've learned to respect Michael Cole for the job he's been able to do. I can't imagine how we've seen so many people like get eaten alive. Adnan Burke gone like weeks, didn't even last weeks, and Michael Cole has been there the whole damn time. But so Andrade showing up though, is this the biggest story that we're really looking at, I guess, going into the summer and everything is All Out is obviously the tentpole event, and Kenny Omega is going to be champion, we would think, at that point, but there's a lot of challengers that have, a gripe to the title coming up. And Andrade is definitely one of those people, as we know that this summer there's going to be an Andrade versus Kenny Omega match already for the AAA championship at Triple Mania. Exactly. So do you think that that's a way that we look with Andrade, coming in right away? Is that where he's going to go? Who do you think going forward into the summer right now with with Kenny Omega? And we'll get into this Jungle Boy match in a couple weeks too, because I think there could be some chicanery with that as well. But yeah, what are you liking? What are you thinking, at least, that you would like to see?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the belts, because you also have, Tony Khan going on Impact this upcoming week to address, what the stipulations are going to be for Omega's match on, with that title. And then he's got to defend against Andrade, like you said. And then like, you're not going to make that for the AEW title too. Or like, are you, or like, could you like make a run where Omega falls from grace, or like, I mean, at some point the mega heel has to get defeated. Like the Young Bucks and Omega can't just continue to be elite forever. Like it's just not going to happen. Like at some point you have to falter. You're going to hit, turbulations and rocks in the road. And that's how you tell a good story. Like everything just isn't always going to work out in your favor there have to be some things that aren't going to go your way. You can't just jump the opponent every time and get away with it to win. I got lucked into a triple threat match, and guess what? Oh, it's a triple threat match, so there's no DQs.
So I'm gonna pull the ref out of the ring and get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like come on, like you can't
Well,
just
that's
continue to do that over and over again. Like,
and that's what it seems like it's coming to, right? Like, because there's
Yeah.
so many people now that just are having like, there's so many gripes that people can pull out. Like Orange shows up tonight, and he's obviously pissed off and has Trent.
well, I don't know if he's pissed. I think
Well, he's whatever.
his best friends are pissed, and there's an alien that might want to boop Kenny really, really hard.
Yeah, I didn't even realize she was back there, like sitting in there during that until the end, and I was like, oh Jesus, and I was like, yeah, alien, that makes sense.
Jeez.
But and that's the thing. So now Kenny, the story that I've always thought it was going to, and we haven't seen them even touch it. They've gone nowhere near it. Is obviously the Hangman winning the title. That makes the most sense. It makes the most sense for it to happen at a big show like All Out. And sometimes in this company's young history, they have been privy to giving everybody the like very expected thing, but still like pulling you through the whole storyline to get to that point. Like the whole Young Bucks turn, like I feel like it was pretty much, you could see it coming for months and months, the way that they were playing that story out with Kenny. But we're so used to like wrestling fans in general are so used to the WWE style of those things where they like, oh, this is what you're expecting, and we're gonna change it up at the end, and then it just goes and whatever. And so they'll pay off these like long-term things. And so that's always been in the back of his head. And Hangman's up at number 2 in the rankings now. So you can see that they're still positioning him as a strong singles person. But when it comes down to Orange, obviously Pac who knows, but he's kind of just the utility guy of WWE. I feel like he's like that Dolph Ziggler role right now, where he just does everything in the mid card and like tag team and anything where he can hold it down and put on great matches and just go from there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All the time. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy to see like the next couple weeks of matches, and then 3 weeks we get Jungle Boy versus Kenny Omega on Saturday Night Dynamite. How are you feeling about Jungle Boy right now? Like obviously the crowd, like hearing the crowd be able to sing the song and everything. Over. Yeah, like it's it's an unreal amount. Like I didn't realize how much it was until showing up at Double or Nothing and be like, damn, like this guy really actually kind of has it right now.
Yeah, and then at Double or Nothing, like they get the crowd, entirely going. Like I don't know if you saw the AEW Dark too. It was the same thing, like the crowd gets going with the theme. Like it's just absolutely insane. Like, and I don't know if you heard. Did you see who was the person who came up with the idea for it?
No.
The Bad Boy, Joey Janela. It was his idea to make that the song. But we do have 3 matches confirmed for next week so far. The TNT Championship match between Miro and Evil Uno. I forgot whose birthday it was or whatever, but he's still unable to fight, and he passed that on to Evil Uno. Then you had Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus Eddie Kingston, Pac, and Penta. And then Hangman, he's selecting 10. And then they're going to be fighting against Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs. So it looks like it could be a big Dark Order night, and that's something that, you talk about that Hangman Page aspect. I think that's exactly where we're building to. And you saw some of the, Dark Order tweeting, oh, we don't need a new leader. We had the best. Maybe he's not the leader, but he's the ally the Dark Order needs to get over the Young Bucks. If you put Dark Order over the Young Bucks and Hangman Page over Omega at the same event, like,
yeah,
I don't know if the arena like roof can handle that. I think that would have to be at an outdoor event, because the pop would be just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and that's perfectly said, because that's what I've been thinking, like leaning towards going, like looking at the Young Bucks too in this scenario. And like, and you were saying earlier, like the Elite, like it has to come at some point, right? Like it's there.
I mean, I love it right now, like them rocking the the off-white Jordans and the tights that have the tights in parentheses and the pockets in parentheses on the pockets and champions on the side. Like, that stuff's cool. Like, it plays, like, it brings in that younger audience, and like it makes people like you and I like more interested. It's like, oh, like they're also like interested in like the culture and like what's going on and like
Mhm.
relevant day, and like they're not just like ignoring the real world in many aspects and like just wearing these like gimmicky red or black boots or like whatever else. Like they're in kayfabe, like they're like in the AEW world, but it's rooted in the real world. But it's
Mhm.
still fantasy, where we have Jungle Boy with his dinosaur with Luchasaurus, or, whatever. But like that's what like allows you to believe the Dark Order could get over on someone like the Young Bucks, or help get Hangman Page over Kenny Omega. And I think that time's coming. We've seen it time and time again where they've had to save Hangman Page. I think that's exactly what we're getting to, and it's just that long-term story building that so
Mhm.
many people continue to hate on the WWE for not doing lately. And I think that's exactly what we're getting from AEW, and I'm just hoping it's true.
Yeah, and it's great to see like like when I feel like when we first saw Hangman kind of interacting with them and everything, no one really they're like, what's going on here? Like this doesn't really make sense. Like why Hangman, like whatever. And they've kept at it and made you invest into that relationship that Hangman has with the Dark Order. And like you said, that kind of payoff, especially with Hangman and anybody dealing with the Elite, like they've still remained to give you those little bits of like asking Hangman about, oh, like what do you think about the Young Bucks match, and that randomly or whatever, and he doesn't comment or never says anything. It's just they've kept it up. They've kept it fresh in your minds. They've kept it fresh in your minds. The fact that Kenny and Hangman were obviously tag champs together. Um, so yeah, I think that that's the natural way to go with it. And like, yeah, the pop would be just otherworldly for that to happen. I also think there's a larger Elite
Oh my
storyline
god.
coming for us eventually, because I'm still they haven't. It's not like we've officially got like Elite branding yet. We haven't really like they've been called the Elite this whole time, but we haven't seen them like together really as like cutting cohesive promo. They were in the
Well,
I guess in the
perfect story. Where's the trios belt? When's it
exactly
coming? When's it coming?
exactly. I still think that there's a larger Bullet Club coming to AEW storyline that's going to happen with the spring, if the New Japan relationship is with AEW is expanding, like Tony Khan claimed in his little promo that he cut on Nick Khan last week. And the report today was that there is no traction between WWE and New Japan, so it looks like Tony Khan was at least telling the truth on that part of it there. But I've still thought that the reason you put the Elite back together is because you're ready to go full Bullet Club in the United States and see what you can do with that kind of run. Because I mean, Bullet Club basically took over that section of wrestling culture while wrestling matches at 2 a.m. for everybody to watch. Like, what is it going to do when they're on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m.? And that story, but that's the main part of that, is that storyline doesn't need Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks don't need to be champions to tell that story. It's a story that can exist on its own in the way that they would be able to present it in there. So give the run to Hangman, give the tag team division another lift, and get some of these. I don't think Dark Order would be long-term champions like the Bucks have been, but they're very worthy tag teams to be in the title race right now. Like, I really enjoy the Varsity Blondes more than I thought that I was going to, but they're very good together. We
They're
haven't seen
getting
FTR.
close.
They're in the first place again right now in the tag team rankings, so they're obviously trying to keep them up there and keep their wins high. FTR really hasn't been near the title scene yet at all, and that's the match that we really need. There's so many other good matchups that we can get.
19 pitch complete game shut piece. Thank you very much. Good night now. 3-0.
There we go, and that's a lock from earlier. That's on Twitter right now.
Don't even get me started. I blew my mind because Steve's book couldn't put in the parlay, which like hit very, very, very easily, and of course I replaced that pick. I'm like, I do like OK State. I gotta take my -1.5 though. I'm like, screw it. And I didn't trust like La Tech -4.5 because I'm like, that's a crazy just spread.
Yeah.
What do they do? 18-2. I knew I should have trusted it. My buddy had 9 RBIs. I should have just talked to him earlier. And, I didn't want to text him. Didn't want
9 RBIs.
worry him. Yeah, I don't. It's just incredible. Like I wish I could have a game like that. Literally first inning, he has a 3-run home run, I think it was, and then later on he hit a grand slam in like the 8th inning. It's just like that. I wish. And he's a switch hitter, so I think one was from one side of the plate and one was from the other, and he has the school history for most hits. And just incredible. I think the first one went onto the train tracks too, and I was like, Al, I'm like, it's on the train tracks. The train tracks of the week just came out, Supreme. I'm like, they just came out, and he just hit it on the train tracks. I'm like, the irony is just insane. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I've been saying. They were like 35-1 to win the College World Series. I should have put money on it. I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot when they win, but it is what it is.
You still got time. There's nothing left.
I don't think they open in between, but I'll have to see. I'll have to have Steve check.
Snag it when you can.
Unfortunately, we live in New York, and the options aren't as plentiful as they are elsewhere. Like the Barstool Sportsbook had, like you could bet the winners of the regionals, you could bet the games, like championship winner, you could bet all that stuff. Not so much everywhere else, and you couldn't parlay them. But it is what it is. We're getting close. Hopefully, we should be in the last couple of months of this. So,
I want to be able to parlay Kenny Omega, Louisiana Tech, and the Los Angeles Clippers. That's what I want in one parlay in New York State.
Kenny Omega over who?
I don't anybody.
Over Jungle Boy? Kenny Omega is going to beat Jungle Boy. I like as much as everyone wants it. Kenny Omega is going to beat Jungle Boy, or he's going to lose all his titles at once.
I was thinking of the option of Jungle Boy winning for like a month and Kenny just being like chaotic and trying to like murder Jungle Boy, and then that's how they kind of split the difference to get us to all out, because it's a long time till September.
Yeah,
obviously, and I think you would want Kenny Omega to be champion in September, but you could do some chicanery and have Jungle Boy hot shot it for him. Like nothing else is going on right now, really. It is the most, it will be the opportunity to get the most eyes on the product as the seasons are winding down.
Well, you also have Rampage starting, is it August 13th or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother hour's worth of TV, which like who knows what they're going to do with.
And that's, me and my brother talking about it, we're hoping that it's a lot more of the women focused and we can kind of get them at the center stage with Rampage a lot, at least, because I think that's just still where I want to see more of, is just more of the like if Bunny and Red Velvet could have got 7 more minutes tonight, even, that would have been incredible. They could put on like a great, and that's, so there's just that kind of time I would love to see with them. But that's, what are they going to fill with these? Like you said, trios title. Like we got plenty of trios that we could roll out there, and
they're constantly running trios matches. Like why not? Like why not? Because it just builds so much more into that storyline. Like, and you have so many factions. Like you can have so many people go for it. Like, and like anytime, like if a big name loses a title or this or that, like they can position themselves back into the trios mix with the rest of their faction or whatever, and like you can just keep people relevant that way all the time. Like I just don't get why you wouldn't introduce it. Like no one's done it. Like just do something different at it.
I think they're just holding that card to their chest when they feel like they've got the roster fleshed out enough to do it. But it seems like it now would be the time to just, with get an extra hour, like make a whole episode of tag team show for fun. Like who cares? Like you can do I wonder if they start doing like special shows like that too, where we kind of get like more of these like tournament shows and things like that, because you're gonna have all these titles. Like they've been willing to be more creative with title chances and everything,
Yeah.
and doing out of the box things. So I would love to see what they can do with more championships. I don't think that they would let it go stale as much, and just kind of like you don't see these guys with their titles, and it's not important when they're out there at all. Like it's always important when a champion's on the screen in AEW. So yeah, it would be interesting to see going forward and just seeing the roster. Speaking of those couple factions that we've got, so before we wrap up in a couple minutes here, there's a couple other feuds still going on from Double or Nothing. The Pinnacle and Inner Circle not done with each other yet at all. I feel like this is kind of no, not even in the slightest. I don't know if we need more Pinnacle. They've kind of had two very extreme matches against each other. But now, what do you think of them like pairing off and going into all their singles feuds and everything? Like,
if you're going to continue it, that's the way to do it. Because it's obviously a different way to present it. And I think the way they've done it the entire time was to build them as single stars. Like you think about it, like having MJF join up with them to begin with in the Inner Circle, and that was just to learn under Jericho, just to pick up things. Like I think Jericho was, pretty much coaching him up on his promos, and now he's been doing the same with Sammy Guevara. You've seen Jake Hager even be better on the mic. It's the same thing with the rest of them. And I think if you're looking at where you go with this, yes, you pair them up, you go with these singles, and you go with the tag team. You do. And some interesting stuff too with Jake Hager challenging Wardlow to it was like a UFC match basically. So
yeah,
like MMA cage fight. Like, is it gonna? I don't know. I don't even know.
I want Joe Rogan out there. I want him out there calling the match.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it gonna be a real MMA fight, or like are they gonna like fake an MMA fight? Because like
Jake Hager can really want
to.
I don't know if Wardlow is an MMA fighter, but Jake Hager's 2-0 in MMA. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I really want to see someone like faking like a full MMA fight.
It is strange. I didn't really understand.
I don't know.
It's out there. At least they're fucking throwing it out there.
Something different.
Yeah, but MJ, I think this will definitely be an all-out match, and I wonder how far it will go with what they'll do. I feel like there'll be some stipulation onto it. Like, could it be like a Jericho, winner, loser leaves town match or something like that, or loser retires or something? Jericho, then this is like not a swan song for Jericho, but maybe like a long break, and he comes back in some other iteration or something like that. Like I could see like that. They have to get extreme.
Go touring.
It. Exactly. He's
we
touring
know
this year.
We know
he's coming to Buffalo.
We know he's going on tour. So he's kind of talked about it a little bit. I've seen like some things where he said some quotes where like, oh, we can kind of make it happen, like maybe, like with the PJ, the private jet. Anything could happen, but it's a lot, especially as you're starting to age and get up there. Like, you obviously can't be taking the bumps, and like, are you just going to show up just to cut a promo? Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see where they go with it. I think at some point here we're gonna see, whether it's Jericho getting an injury or something happening where he's more than likely going to take some time away. I don't think like he's not going to just fully be away from the company. Like I think he's going to, continue to, be leaned on like creatively, and like he's going to be paying attention to what's going on and talking to the guys and everything. But yeah,
it'll be it. It seems like, especially with the Jericho tour, the Fozzy tour, and everything. And the way that this feud is just played out, it's got to be something extreme. You have to have a reason to keep it going for this far, and for those two to fight and put something else on the line. Like they've established it that they're willing to put extreme things on the line to fight each other. So I feel they usually don't give you those little pieces without following up further on. So I'm just very interested to see like what else they can do with that, because those two can make anything work, I think. So I know they're gonna be willing to get us into it regardless. But yeah, that's between all those different feuds we've got going. Like the main feuds, man, they're loaded up. It's gonna be a fun summer to see where they go. We've got with the Elite storyline. We got Frankie Kazarian just attacking Elite members all over the place. That's going to be interesting at some point.
You and I said this the other day, and like you've talked about, how long it is until All Out there in September. Impact, AEW, crossover event. Like I would not be surprised if there's something big like that in the works, because of everything we're seeing. Kazarian's going after, the Good Brothers, and you got Kenny Omega, jump in, Moose, and whatever. I can't think of the other guy's name.
Well, and the tweet from the other day of Britt put out with Deanna on the little the marquee with her. Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue around it, and yeah, they haven't really explored that relationship as much as we thought they would yet. So interesting. That could be a whole All Out thing. They could even, like, if they really wanted to, like, it not like it. I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibility for an All Out card.
Is AEW Friday again next week?
Yes, Friday for the next 2 weeks, and then Saturday.
So you have Impact Thursday, AEW Friday, and then TNA's pay-per-view is on Saturday. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Kenny Omega getting jumped or some sort of invasion there next Friday night.
That it is, and the Friday nights have been doing well for them too. So that they know they're bringing eyeballs to it. Yeah, I like the way you're thinking there, Ty. I'm still like, I always forget about that little Impact piece because I'm not as up on Impact, but knowing that the relationship.
I'm not either. I just turned down FTM the other day. I was like, who?
And Moose would be
Tony?
a dude.
I was like, I know Tony.
Moose would be a guy.
I was like, someone wanted Tony to buy the Sabres. I know that guy.
Tony, please buy the Sabres. Don't listen to Jericho. All right, that'll do it for here. We'll rip this and put it out for Wrestling with Emotion here and get a little AEW check in. We'll keep throwing these at you guys as the summer goes on. A lot wrestling is an interesting place right now. It is a very interesting world in the world of wrestling. So got to stay on top of it. All right, so for Ty B, Jake Micah here. Thank you all. Have a great evening, night, day, whatever this is. Good night.